So, kept you waiting, huh? I've been waiting over a month to be able to say that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk, where we go over new content, current trends, and topics of conversation from nowhere in particular, and start a discussion about them. Today's topic is the recently announced remake of the legendary stealth action game Metal Gear Solid 3, titled Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Now, I know this trailer was released with the PlayStation Showcase way back in May, but I was undergoing a channel restructure and have been hard at work on the next installment of Sequelogical Tendencies, so I didn't get to do a live reaction like everyone else. So let me make up for it now by getting to talk about it and starting a dialogue here on this channel. It seems fitting to talk about this one now, seeing as how the very sequel video I'm working on is this franchise, Metal Gear. I've been steeped in the world of tactical espionage action for about 3 months now, so I'm very invested in whatever Konami is offering. Metal Gear is near and dear to my heart. I don't know how many more times I can say that, but it's true. So seeing the studio that killed the franchise in the first place take a step back and putting some effort into producing for the series again is not only a breath of fresh air, but also the first show of goodwill I've seen from them in a while. With the exception to the Silent Hill revival they're also working on, that's got me giddy as a schoolgirl. So without further delay, let's talk about the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater trailer and what it means for the franchise going forward. Spoilers for the Metal Gear Solid series in its entirety. Yes, every single game. So before the trailer actually kicks in, I just wanted to remind y'all that when this trailer premiered live, the little Konami logo in the top right corner was not on the footage we were shown. In fact, if I remember correctly, they didn't hype this trailer up at all before it was broadcast. Alright, so this thing pops open to a dark, moist looking moss clump with some ants scurrying around. At first, without any hint as to what this could be, I thought maybe it was like a wildlife simulator of some kind, or maybe a game where the protagonist gets shrunk down to an insect size to play in the forest. But nope. Few more scenes of following the ants, and we're shown an impressed footprint in the dirt, followed by a dead poison dark frog. Maybe a trailer for a port of Sons of the Forest? This is some of the most cryptic shit I've ever seen. The cluelessness starts to fade away though as the next scene is shown. The dart frog gets picked up and swooped away into the talons of a parrot flying through the stormy weather. Now this was the first hint that pointed towards an MGS3 remake. That green parrot is likely the avian friend of the End, the legendary father of sniping that Naked Snake encounters during Operation Snake Eater. Not many games star a green parrot, even less of those take place in literal jungles. If you pay attention while the parrot is airborne, you can actually see a little blip in the distance, something that's totally innocuous that doesn't bring your attention to it at all until you watch the trailer again and start scanning for clues. Freezing the image at the right second and zooming way in, you can actually see the silhouette of 4 helicopters transporting a mechanical behemoth by the name of the Shagohod. A similar scene plays out in MGS3 after Snake is yeeted off the rope bridge and Vulcan makes his getaway. But what actually sold me on an MGS3 remake was the following scene, where the parrot dives back into the brush with the echoes of gunfire ringing out. This fence is an obstacle the player must get around during the campaign of MGS3, with several layers and different ways to get past them. They're electrified as well, which is why they're sparking and the smoke is coming out from them. With my hopes all but confirmed, the parrot swoops in and lands delicately on a log floating in the swamp, totally oblivious to the fact that even the most tranquil places in the jungle are hunting grounds for all kinds of predators living out here as well. A giant snake lingering just beneath the surface of the water lunges out and clamps the parrot by the wing before being viciously attacked itself by a giant crocodile, the two tangling each other up for a brutal fight for survival. The camera pans down and follows the surface of the water into the thicket where a shadowy figure edges closely to us. From out of the darkness lurks the most dangerous predator among them. Naked Snake himself, decked out in this tiger stripe camouflage and splitter face paint. Cynthia Harrell's beautiful theme song, Snake Eater, starts its drum roll as the camera pans away, showing off a triangle split in the treetops above, forming the logo for the new project name, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. A full remake of the classic PS2 military stealth thriller coming to 4K consoles sometime soon. God damn am I excited for this. Snake Eater is like my second favorite Metal Gear game, beat out only by MGS1 for the original PlayStation, and that's only because of the nostalgia factor. When I think of the holy trifecta for the PS2, it's typically Kingdom Hearts 2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. If you had a PS2, it's likely you had it specifically for those games. While the first run through of this trailer seems kinda cryptic, it's actually incredibly intelligent and well put together. It's a literal climbing of the food chain, starting all the way at the bottom with ants and climbing upwards to the apex predator of the region, then the apex predator of the planet. Such amazing theming. What I appreciated about it the most though is that Konami was pretty reserved when it came to the Easter eggs and references in this trailer. They aren't all obvious, like the far off shot of the Shagohod not being framed and incredibly poorly lit, so it's not the focal point of the in-flight sequence. The parrot itself is pretty subtle. Like, without the rest of the context about the Shagohod or Naked Snake here, it's kinda just the appearance of a bird taking us through this world. And while there's a big label on the bottom of the video that declares the footage as not actual gameplay footage, the visual quality and immense details put into every shot give you a feel for what Konami is looking to represent in their rendition of MGS3. Like, if the actual gameplay looks half as good as these scenes do, I'll be fucking floored. Look at the water run down Snake's face! Look at it! For Konami to start ushering in a new era for Metal Gear, using this game as their jumping off point, it's obvious to see that there's some mighty ambitions for what they want to accomplish. And I want to talk about that really quick, because what I'm most concerned about is what could possibly be stirring just behind the curtain at Konami when it comes to these games' legacy. So, if you're still watching this video and you care at all about the Metal Gear franchise, you'll probably agree with me when I say that Konami has not treated Metal Gear as a franchise well at all during and after MGS5's development. The way things came down publicly between Kojima Productions and Konami as two entities are embarrassing, tragic, but most of all harmful to the brands that Kojima created under their banner. I think a lot of fans of this franchise hold Konami responsible for the way MGS5 was received by the public and the borderline unfinished state the game was released on. And then there was the absolute trash fire that was Metal Gear Survive, a game that basically spat in the face of everything that came before it, and was the most blatant use of brand recognition to push a product I've ever seen. And that was the note that Konami left the franchise on. A terrible game pushing the new multiplayer focused strategy the corporation has started to crack down on. It almost feels like it was made on purpose specifically to shoot themselves in the foot and admit that they had no plans at all to do anything with the Metal Gear IP, with the exception of the inevitable HD re-releases as time went on. Needless to say, this trailer is a complete surprise to more than a few people. Metal Gear is an intrinsic part of video game culture. When you have trending content creators using a sound effect that was created 25 years ago in modern social media, most having no idea where that effect came from, you know you're sitting on a pile of digital gold. A franchise beloved and recognized by video game culture enthusiasts worldwide, and Konami is deciding to pick up a new take on the franchise by remaking the near universally accepted peak of the series. That is some of the ballsiest strategizing I've ever heard. On the one hand, this could be the biggest payoff the company has ever conceived. Like, imagine if this remake goes through flawlessly. Imagine the perfection of Metal Gear Solid 3 in 4K with better tech, refined mechanics, and little to no errors or bugs throughout. That would be an absolute boon for not only the franchise, but also establish a massive amount of goodwill for the company, who so far has shown little to no appreciation for this series. But also think about the inverse of that. Let's say that they try their best, that Konami works hard and makes promises, but just can't straight up deliver. A glitchy mess that feels like a total stampede over the previous work and does little to do much more than make it look better. That would be, and I feel like I'm exaggerating a bit, but I will anyway to make my point, the biggest fuck up in video game history. If this remake comes out, and it absolutely bombs and people hate it, I think that would actually spell out the end for this franchise as a whole. No more remakes, no more remasters. Metal Gear is dead to rights until the IP enters public domain. This is, at least how I see it, the razor's edge that Konami is balancing on when it comes to this remake. It has the potential to be completely restorative of faith in the company and the series, to make amends for how things fell apart in 2015. But it also has the entire capacity to rip the company to pieces, locking away the MGS name forever until we're all old and gray. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but to me the stakes have never felt higher. And while I want to get my hopes up about what looks to be an amazing recreation of one of gaming's biggest icons, seriously you guys, look at these stills that came out right after the trailer was announced. This thing is going to be absolutely gorgeous. I've seen just as many lazy remakes and remasters for some of my other classic favorites as well, and I would hate for that to happen to Metal Gear after everything. But what do you guys think of everything we've seen on Metal Gear Solid Delta so far? Do you have high hopes for a stellar remake, wishing that the best is yet to come? Or are you on the more pessimistic side of things, preparing for the worst? Alongside the announcement for MGS Delta was a collection of HD ports of the previous titles in the series, including MGS 1, MGS 2, MGS 3, and the MSX games Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, as well as the digital graphic novels made for MGS 1 and 2. This is pretty insane because as far as I know, the only ways to get all of these games together before this was to purchase the Legacy Collection for the PS3, which I already have, but that won't stop me from buying these all again, damn it! I've also seen a few blurbs of information tossed around about the development studio that won't be using re-recorded lines for the game, at least from the major players like David Hayter, Josh Keaton, Suzetta Monet, and Laurie Allen, but will instead be using new technology to remaster the previously used voice lines to be able to keep the same cast. I think that's a pretty clever use of modern audio technology as a way to faithfully keep the original dub intact without the possibility of destroying prior performances, like in the Twin Snakes remake of MGS1 for the GameCube. But hey, maybe that's just me. Did you agree or disagree with anything I had to say? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to smack that thumbs up button if I made an exclamation button appear above your head today. Don't forget to shoot that subscribe button and aim for the bell icon to know when I got more intel on this remake and other Metal Gear related content. I think that just about does it for me this time, true believers, so this is Meganimanic signing off. Excelsior!